Hello, welcome back to Blender Sushi Live Noding. In this episode, we're gonna take a look at the new node in Spreadshop. It's called the point on. Oh, there's actually point on mesh, and there is actually random points on mesh. So there are actually older nodes that's dealing with generating random points on mesh. So let's take a look. We want to kind of scatter a bunch of points on a mesh, but this one actually works within a face. So let's create just a simple plane. So we plug in the source of the points. We can take a look at the result, view and edges. So we just want to see the actual plane. So this is by default, we have the single plane. Let's create a bunch of planes. So 5 by 3 points. So we have this 8 face. So now we want to generate some points. We create another viewer draw. Let's see if I just plug this in. So we have, by default, we have 10 points kind of randomly scattered on the plane. So this is similar to Blender particle emitter, and it's simply generating points randomly, but we can control the weighting over here. So we can have 100 points, so it's scattered on the surface of the mesh. And let's just save this first. So save it as random points on mesh. Let's see how this actually works with the face in weighting. So we have 8 face. Maybe we can actually use list input, and we create 8 numbers list, and we just plug this into the face weight. So if we just have 0, it's gonna give an error. If we increase the number, we can kind of weight it. It's a little bit like how you weight mesh into the bone. So you have like skinning weight depending on the value that you put depending on the value that you give to the bone, it's gonna have certain influence on how it's gonna generate these points. So this is actually a really interesting node. I'm only gonna be tackling the basic, but you can use this to probably like populate some kind of maps, or you can also maybe like you can generate points. You can generate like some kind of hairs. That's also possible. There's a lot of functions of this random points on mesh. You can scatter things. For example, you can use it with Voronoi 2D and generate edges simply based on that points. So that's kind of useful. Oh, it's actually super useful. But we now have access to these nodes, so that's really handy. So yeah, I can just fill this up manually. You can actually use this with another node called effector, I think. Set effector. Keep forgetting the name of that nodes, but basically you can influence based on distance, because if you see we have only 8 different faces, and we can just scatter points based on this weighting. Let's say if we have like 5 by 5, now we have 16, right? We need to have 16 value, and we kind of need to weight it. If you are doing it manually, it's not fun. Normally the way you want it is you have some kind of area, and you simply just want to paint on the area, and then so it will scatter points on the area. And after you do that, after you have the points, you can then place the objects. So that's really the basic idea. I don't know how to erase that, but anyhow, so with these points, we can Voronoi it. With Voronoi, of course, you can use like a planar EdgeNet or edges to face 2D. That's both of them will work in order to get face, something like that, and then you can kind of extrude up using extrude separate faces. So this is all like something you can try yourself. So that's a random extrusion, and then you can bake it. So yeah, but it's extruding everything, so probably not so useful like that, but this is one example. You can also scatter objects, like for example like a box or cylinder. Let's try with a box, simple box. I think the box node is too basic, so we need some kind of way to kind of place the box on the floor, and then need to scale it. There's another node called rounded box, which is slightly more useful. This one have vector size scaling for the box. So I'll show you. So where's the box? So by default, this rounded box is like a sphere, looking like a sphere. But you have control over the size of the box. You can actually just simply use this and zero out the radius. This is probably a better box to work with, and you simply use the bounding box to place it on the floor, and then you use that with this point scatter. Let me do that really quickly actually. So bounding box, you learn before that you can simply place an object on the floor by using the z-axis cut in half. So use scalar math, this one multiplied by 0.5, and this is going to be the how much I need to push the box up. So apply matrix, so this goes in there. So the matrices vector in goes like that, and this goes in. So this should be the default, some kind of way to just place an object on the floor, and then you can just play around with this high and okay. And so let's go back to what we have. We have a plane, we have random points, so we can use the random points on the box now. So simply drag that into the matrix. So we're gonna have a lot of objects. Let's reduce the number to 100 and reduce the box size 0.5. Now hopefully we can play around with this number, so we can sort of have like a city. So vector in goes in there. Oops, it's broken. Oh, we need to have some kind of value. Oh no, interesting. Yeah, so it doesn't like zero value. So So how many objects we have? 100. We can have random number, 100 number, the value between 0.2 and 1, plug this into the height. Oops. So that's the idea. It seems like it doesn't split as expected. I think it should actually work. I might need to use list split, I don't know. So list split doesn't seem to work. So I'll probably need to talk with the Blender developer on why this doesn't work with the box size. Maybe because of this matrix apply is doing something. So maybe unplug this and use this guy into the scale. So this also should work, but now, oh yeah, it has different size, but it's affecting the bounding box. Okay. So that's interesting. This is maybe, oh, I know why. This bounding box is accepting 100, have 100, but the matrix in doesn't work. So you can see this, we have 100 value and it becomes only a single value going in. So that's why it doesn't work. But if we plug this directly in there, you can see now the box actually have different size. Oh, I know why. Yeah, the matrix apply. This one is not for multiple value. You need to use the other one. So let's try this. Turn off join. Some multiple box. This one goes in there and faces goes in there. This goes there. So let's see if we have different size. So it doesn't have. So this is where it fails. Just now I just plug this directly in there. It's actually working. Huh. So maybe this matrix in have issue with dealing with multiple value. That's interesting. Anyhow, it works, right? We have this control over the scale of the building and the height of the building. So yeah, that's basically the idea. We could have like random number just to scatter the building, but that's yeah, it should cover the basic idea of random points on mesh. We're gonna take a look at how we can influence it with maybe with grease pencil in the future, or maybe just paint the surface, get some kind of weight, and then use the weight to scatter the points. All right, so there you go. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.